Pinecrest Estates looked like the American dream on a postcard. Rolling green lawns clipped to exactly 2.5 inches, identical beige shutters, and American flags waving in perfect unison like they'd been drilled by the HOA board. But behind the white picket perfection lurked Karen Prescott, our beloved president of 7 years and self-appointed queen of standards. She patrolled the streets in her golf cart like a mall cop on steroids, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, ready to cite anyone who dared plant lavender instead of the approved Kentucky bluegrass. I was Natalie Harper, the resident who'd apparently broken every unwritten rule just by existing. I'd moved in 8 years ago with my husband Evan after we sold our Portland startup and wanted the quiet suburbs for our daughter Isa. Big mistake. My native plant pollinator garden got slapped with a $250 fine for non-compliant landscaping. Evan's electric SUV was flagged as unusual vehicle aesthetics. Even our sustainable upcycled clothing business, featured in Vogue, mind you, was dismissed as hippie nonsense at the annual meeting. Karen's favorite line? "We have standards here, Natalie. This isn't Portland." I tried, God knows I tried. Of ISA's first day of kindergarten, our family Christmas cards, even a note when our second baby was on the way. Every single one came back with the same boilerplate. Personal matters are not HOA business. Please keep correspondence rule-related only. Karen would smile at community barbecues, pearls gleaming, and ask in that syrupy voice, "Still flying solo, dear? Such a shame a pretty girl like you hasn't settled down." Meanwhile, her daughter Brooke, perfect blonde, married at 22, now expecting her first, got a custom parking spot and 0 fines even when her rose bushes spilled 3 inches over the property line. The neighbors ate it up. The one everyone whispered about at block parties but never invited to the real conversations. "She's artistic," they'd say like it was a disease. "Probably divorced." Sorry. I smiled through it all, documented every selective citation, and waited. Because some wars aren't won with screams, they're won with receipts and perfect timing. The invitation arrived in a pink and gold envelope that smelled like Karen's signature vanilla coconut candle. Pinecrest Estates proudly hosts a community baby shower for Brooke Prescott Morrison. Join us in celebrating the next generation of neighborhood pride. Note: +1's not required, LOL. I stared at that OL until my eyes burned. 8 years of marriage, 1 perfect daughter, another baby on the way, and Karen still pretended I was the lonely spinster who couldn't keep a man. Evan read it over my shoulder, jaw tight. "You don't have to go," he said softly.
But I did. I wasn't showing up to beg for acceptance. I was showing up to end the performance.
The country club-style clubhouse was drowning in pink tulle and HOA-approved balloons. None of that gaudy metallic stuff, of course. Karen stood at the gift table in a blush pink sheath dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment, laughing too loud at her own jokes. Brooke glowed in white maternity lace, opening tiny onesies while Karen's inner circle cooed. I walked in alone first, gray silk dress skimming my barely their bump, hair styled like I hadn't spent the morning dry heaving from pregnancy nausea. Heads turned. "Is that Natalie?" She actually came. Karen's smile froze for half a second before snapping back into hostess mode. "Natalie, darling, so good of you to make the effort. No date again this year? We really must find you someone stable." The room tittered over me like cheap perfume. I checked my phone. Evan's text, "Essay's ready. Say the word. 20 minutes. I could wait 20 minutes. They couldn't help themselves. Bowl. Non-alcoholic for the ladies, naturally, and launched into her greatest hits. Still running that little clothing project? How adorable. Brooke here just got promoted at the bank, again. Some people just know how to build real stability, right? Brooke flashed her diamond and patted her belly. "Mom, stop. Ag a hometown sweetheart like James. Some of us are career girls. The air quotes were audible. I sipped the overly sweet punch and let the venom sink in. 8 years of fines, 8 years of being erased, and here they were still writing my story for me. The weird single artist who couldn't color inside the HOA lines. Karen leaned in, voice dripping honey. Between us, I had to waive the guest limit rule for Brooke's shower. We can't have just anyone bringing random people. Standards, you understand. I smiled the smallest smile. Oh, I understand perfectly. My phone buzzed. I set the cup down. The room was mid-laugh at another Natalie's probably still single jab when I raised my voice, just loud enough to cut through the chatter. Actually, you're right about one thing, Karen. I can't imagine doing any of this alone. The laughter died like someone pulled the plug. I turned toward the double doors. Because I'm not. The doors swung open on cue. Evan stepped in first, tall, sandy-haired, navy suit tailored sharp, holding Essay's hand. She bounced in her yellow sundress, daisy chain in her hair, eyes wide at the balloons. The entire room froze. Brooke's squeal over a onesie strangled in her throat. Karen's face went the color of expired milk. I walked straight to them, heels clicking on the marble like a countdown. Essay ran to me first. Mama, is this the surprise party with the cookies? I lifted her, kissed her cheek, and turned to the statue-still crowd. Everyone, this is my husband, Evan. We've been married 8 years. 5 years old, dinosaur expert, and fluent in both English and Mandarin. Oh, and yes, we're expecting another in 6 months. Silence. Exploded like fireworks. Married? She has a kid? The Asian guy? Karen's clipboard actually slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Brooke looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. I kept my voice steady, the same calm I used when citing HOA bylaws back at them. Funny how none of you knew. Turned to sender. Sent Essay's birth notice with photos. Marked, not HOA business. Every Christmas card with our family on the front porch you all drove past? Ignored. But sure, let's keep pretending I'm the neighborhood oddball who can't follow the rules. Evan's hand rested warm on my lower back. Essay waved cheerfully. Grandma? Mommy said you live close, but we never see you. Karen opened and closed her mouth like a guppy. This violates guest protocol. We have standards. The bylaws clearly state. I cut her off with the sweetest smile. Article 7.3, Section B. All residents shall be treated with equal enforcement regardless of personal circumstances. Remember, the same section you quoted when you fined me $750 for planting milkweed that actually feeds the bees you claim to love. Yet Brooke's roses get a free pass. Selective much. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the folder titled Karen's Greatest Hits. Photos of her own unpermitted pool cabana, the temporary shed that had been standing 4 years, the time she cited my garden but ignored her own daughter's political yard signs. The room started murmuring in a different key now. Less gossip, more wait a minute. Karen's pearls suddenly looked too tight. Natalie, this is neither the time nor the— Actually, I said, voice dropping to that dangerous calm. This is exactly the time. Because I've spent 8 years being your ghost resident, paying fines for existing while you played favorites. Today, the ghost talks back. Essay tugged my dress. Mama, why is the pink lady turning red? The laughter that rippled through the crowd wasn't cruel anymore. It was the sound of people finally seeing the emperor had no clothes, and her clothes had been bought with everyone else's violation fees. Karen looked around for backup that wasn't coming. Brooke was crying real tears for once. And for the first time in 8 years, the HOA president had nothing to say that the bylaws could say. The exodus started slow, guests gathering purses, murmuring excuses about giving the family space. But the damage was done. Within minutes, the ballroom emptied until only the inner circle remained, surrounded by half-opened gifts and a cake that now read, "Baby makes 3," in slightly crooked pink icing. Evan took ISA to the garden for cookies, sensing I needed the next round alone. I sat across from Karen and Brooke at the abandoned head table. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Karen finally spoke, voice cracking. "How could you ambush me like this? At my own daughter's shower." I laughed once, short and sharp. "Ambush? I sent you the truth for 8 years. You chose not to read it. Read the 37 violation appeals I filed while you waived every rule for Brooke." Brooke wiped her eyes. We thought you were the weird single artist who couldn't keep a man?" Finished. "Yeah, I got the memo. Every block party and newsletter." Karen's hands trembled. "The community expects uniformity. Uniformity or your personal vendetta against anyone who doesn't look or live like your Pinterest board?" I slid my phone across the table, open to the folder. "Take a look. Every ignored email, every time you cited me but gave Brooke a pass. I have copies. Who specializes in HOA abuse cases. Your choice." The color drained from Karen's face so fast her blush looked clownish. For the first time, she wasn't the queen. She was just a woman realizing the throne was built on sand. Brooke reached for my hand, tentative. "I didn't know. You were difficult." I believed her. "Difficult is code for won't bow," I said quietly. "I'm done bowing." Outside the window, ISA's laughter floated in as Evan pushed her on the swing. Karen stared at the sound like it was foreign. "She's beautiful." Voice was small. "I missed it all. Everything." "You did," I agreed. "But here's the thing about ghosts, they can come back. The question is whether you're ready to see the living version of me." Karen swallowed hard. "What do you want?" "Simple. Refund every fine. See, with actual equal application. And maybe, just maybe, stop pretending the only valid family is the one that matches your curtains." Brooke nodded first. "I'll vote for it at the next board meeting." "Mom!" Karen looked at her daughter, then at me, and for once the pearls didn't save her. I can do that." For my hand, shaking, but real. "Tell me about them." ISA. "Your life."
So I did. Book feature about ISA's dinosaur phase and Mandarin bedtime stories, about the second baby we'd name after the resilience it took to get here. Karen listened without interrupting for the first time in 8 years. When Evan and ISA came back in, ISA climbed straight into Karen's lap like she'd always belonged there. "You smell like cookies and grandma," she announced. Karen's laugh came out wet and surprised. The afternoon that started as a power play ended in awkward hugs, exchanged numbers, and a promise to try, on my terms. As we walked to the car, ISA clutching a new stuffed bunny from Brooke, Evan squeezed my hand. "You okay?" I looked back at the clubhouse once, at Karen standing smaller in the doorway. "I'm better than okay."
The drive home was quiet except for ISA's happy chatter about new Grandma Karen and Aunt Brooke's big belly. My phone buzzed with the first text from Karen. "Refund checks issued tomorrow. Board meeting next week. Your input required. Thank you for showing me." I smiled at the screen. It wasn't perfect. Still quote bylaws in her sleep. But the ghost resident had spoken, and the neighborhood would never unhear it. 6 months later, little Rosalie arrived screaming and perfect, and the first visitor after Evan's parents was Karen, carrying a handmade quilt with squares from my wedding, ISA's first birthday, and even a photo of my pollinator garden that now had an official approved native habitat plaque. She held Rosie like she was afraid the baby might vanish. "I missed so much," she whispered. "But I'm here for the rest." I believed her. Because sometimes the Karen who ruled with fear learns that real power isn't in the rulebook. It's in showing up when the ghost finally decides to haunt you back. And me? I finally stopped being the invisible resident of Pinecrest Estates. I was Natalie Harper, wife, mother, business owner, rule rewriter, and the woman who walked into the lion's den with her family and walked out with the whole damn neighborhood seeing her for the first time. The lawns stayed green, the flags stayed straight, but the rules? They finally had to make room for every kind of family, including mine. And that, dear neighbors, is the sweetest violation of all.